Good evening, televiewers. Welcome to this other edition of Prime on my Media Prime, an edition that is going to be looking at the troubled situation of the population of the Northwest and Southwest regions owing to the constant road blockades that are called for by separatists. We're going to be asking ourselves as to in whose interest are these road blockade actually working for. We also are going to be relating to a call that was made by FOACOM 4 days ago, calling on traditional rulers and elites of the Northwest and Southwest regions to press harder to bring an end to the conflicts that have been raging on for above 7 years and now in the Southwest and Northwest regions. Can the traditional authorities of these two regions do anything greater than what has been done so far? What powers do they have? We are going to be giving opportunity for those of you watching across the nation to participate in today's edition of the program to give your own opinions as to the topics under discussion this evening. We are in the company of Dr. Michael Ndimancho, who is a lecturer in some universities across Cameroon. We're glad to have you with us once again.
Thank you, Mr. Liu. It's a pleasure to be here
and to share my own views on the crisis that is ongoing here in Cameroon, and specifically in the Northwest and the Southwest region of Cameroon. We continue to preach peace, and we continue to call on all our brothers to develop some restraint in the treatment of our own fellow brothers and sisters. Thank you so much for inviting me.
We also in the company of Prince Joel Mukage, who is a journalist and regular panelist on Prime editions. We're glad to have you with us.
Good evening to you, Mr. Liu. Good evening to Dr. Nzimacho, and good evening to all those who are watching my Media Prime this evening, most particularly in the Northwest and the Southwest region. Like Doctor said, many a time you're asking yourself, like you said, in whose interest that individuals suffer their own. I believe that in the 2 hours that we have together, we are going to chip in our own quarter of contribution so that somebody somewhere should get our voice.
We are going to be starting with this. A message was sent to me by someone who lives in Kumbo, Dr. Michael Ndimancho, who narrated how he goes to Bomenda. He leaves Kumbo, gets to Jakiri, and then moves down to one village and then to another village and comes out at Magba in Nun Division, gets to Fumban to Bafusam and down to Bomenda, and then gets back using same route to Kumbo. And so many persons wrote to me, and I promised that I was going to discuss it today, and I equally made a plea to those of you watching to send me the root conditions of the population out there. The videos you see behind me are videos that were sent because of the call I made on Monday during Prime as Monday edition, and we're going to share some of the videos with you. But to think that roads in the Northwest and Southwest regions are blocked, in whose interest are Dr. Michael Ndimancho, if we were to understand this scheme?
To whose interest? I just think that people have decided to inflict some kind of suffering in their own brothers and sisters, because we cannot understand why we went into a crisis for some reasons, because what is happening now is part of the reasons why we went into the crisis. People complained that we are suffering. People complained of routes. I remember that one of the complaints of Anglophones, especially those of the Northwest and those of the Northwest particularly, was about the ring route. And the second complaint was about Babaju, Bamenda route. I mean, those were major complaints that we were having about the state of route in our area. And why were people complaining? Because they fell for those who were traveling, those who had to take long hours, and you know how tedious it used to be, perhaps traveling from one division to a subdivision to another, from one division to another in the Northwest region. I think it summarized to this, that the Anglophones were suffering because of lack of routes, lack of infrastructure. And to think that that very cause for which we went into the crisis is the very cause for which we have taken on to inflict on our own brothers and sisters today, then I would rather think that there is more to it than meets the eye. It's not only about roots. When these our brothers and sisters started after exercising accents, people to they claim to be them to have a much more bigger responsibility to serve the people, to see the people have a better life than the government in Yaoundé. And talking about responsibility, I even thought these people could set on their own hospitals for people to get there and get cured. I thought they could even set up assistance, setting up schools. I mean, for people to feel that they belong. I thought they could even assist in construction of roads for the people to know that yes, these are truly those who came to salvage you, to save us from the suffering of who they call the colonizers. But today, to think that instead of helping the people and making the people believe, giving the people the reason to believe, to accept that they came to save them, to salvage them from the sufferings, they are the ones inflicting even much more harder sufferings on the people. We begin to ask ourselves who actually they are and who are they fighting for? Are they fighting for themselves, or they are fighting for some imaginary territory or imaginary people that we are yet to know who they are? Because I've come to the conclusion that the Anglophones, of course, are not the people that the separatists are fighting for. I mean, I'm still to be convinced, because given the state of things, kidnappings, killings, accents on schools, on hospitals, on churches, I mean, just those values that we stood for, I mean, gives me reason to think that there is something else the people are fighting for. And somebody will prove me wrong. That is why you realize that there is a lot of issue of money turning around the thing. Because I ask myself, if you are fighting a war and you know your adversary, you know where the military barracks are, you know where the police stations are, you know where the gendarmerie stations are, but you leave the gendarmerie stations and then you target the people, you target their own very people, and then you ask yourself whether the war was a war that was to be fought within the community. If it was to be fought within the community, why did you take out a different reason to put ahead of it? And Anglophones now have come to the conclusion that the Anglophone crisis is not actually what we call the Anglophone crisis. It's a crisis that was actually fabricated by some individuals for their selfish and personal reason, personal aggrandizement, and that is why they are feeding fat on. And to this effect, we are calling, I think that it's high time we sensitize all Anglophones. All of us have seen. We have seen the proofs. Because if somebody should take that kind of pains, living from perhaps Noni, or living from Uku, or living from So, coming up to Bamenda, and a distance of perhaps, you will say from Uku, you get about 40 kilometers from Uku to Bamenda. And you have to take now a distance of about 200 kilometers to reach Bamenda. It is not just about distance, it is about the stress. It is about the economic sucking. The money that you spend on the way. Then we have every reason to think that the separatist fighters are our own very enemies that all the young Anglophones are supposed to turn their backs on and fight them. And I'm saying this vehemently and in clear terms.
Okay, let's understand. Is this a strategy maybe to foster the agenda or separatist agenda? But when you block the case of the Bingo Road that is blocked, the road that is going down to Ndop that is blocked, and other parts that are blocked? these roads, when you block the roads, how
does it sell the...
No. How does it help the common man?
The truth is, Mr. Liu, the Northwest today, most particularly the Northwest, if you go through the Northwest and come back, you need to look for the nearest church and offer a mass, because it's not easy. Those of us who were there in December, I'll give you a very simple example that one of the person who gave his plight talked about. Now, when you leave, most people who leave St. Campbell or Mr. J today, it's a road that they needed to pass through Kumbu, straight up to Bamenda. But now you need to come through the west region, get to Bafusam before coming down to Bamenda. And even those who live areas like Lasin and say Uku need to come down and pass through Kambe. And these are areas that you could just leave and go straight and you're already in Bamenda. When I was in the Northwest recently, Mr. Liu, that was in December, with my family, I said, okay, because I appear on TV and for other personal reasons, I will not pass through the Lasin or Oku road. I took the Bafusam road, of course, to meet with my family in Bamenda before any other thing. Those who took the road towards Oku spent 3 days. Why? Because when they get to a particular area, the road has been blocked. The question comes to mind, like you asked me. How does suffering an individual add to an ideology? Before the crisis were like now, because I want to talk about the road I master, Mr. Liu, Bamenda Kambe was 3,500 francs CFA. But because of one of the aspects, the roads that are being blocked and people need to use several roads, we are talking about 2,500 and plus now. And even the drivers who ply these roads, they use courage. And many of the drivers, far from the fact that separatist fighters have mounted blocks also, there is several checks on each part where you get to. Either you're paying to the normal uniform officer or you're paying to the separatist fighters. I think that Mr. Liu, like Dr. clearly put it, if you look at why some people are in prisons today, like the Mancho BBCs, is because they held the government delegate by then, that Vincent Domo, that when you look at Bamenda and we look at what comes in, where are the roads? But now if people who are supposed to be selling an ideology have to suffer their own, because the truth is most of the authorities who visit these areas they don't go through that stress. It's a common man that you claim to be protecting who is going through that stress. And that's why I think that, Mr. Liu, it's time that we rethink the agenda. The agenda that was put forth is seemingly not working. Let's take
specifically the case, the route, the stretch coming from Bambili down to Lot.
Of course.
Now, when you block this route, what could be the objective? What do you achieve?
That's the question, Mr. Liu. You are seemingly just struggling to. The first thing is, most of these guys who tell you that what they want to achieve is show territorial strength, that this is our area and we control it. Okay? Because I also remember that there's a distance I passed through the last time I was in Bamenda to go to Bali, and I was told that it was a distance that the people used to pay 400 francs to get there. But what we paid was 1,000 francs each person, and 3 persons in front of the taxi and more than 5 behind. It tells you, Mr. Liu, that a lot of things are going on wrong. First of all, those who wanted to protect a people are now turning to hunt those people. Because when you block these roads, a normal, maybe say a civil servant whom you say no is La Republique, doesn't feel the pains. It's one grandmother who has to travel who is feeling the pains, because when you block the roads, new roads are created. Different roads are made, which are, first of all, very longer, and the prices to add. So I think that, Mr. Liu, talking about creating, when you block these areas, the first thing is to show that we control this area. We have the strength. We are the ones who control this area, because it's an open secret. And that's why many times, Mr. Liu, I always ask myself, what is preventing to the military to go and crack down these areas, because there are areas, for those of us who've gone to the Northwest recently, there are areas that it's an open secret that are being mounted and controlled by separatist fighters. It's open. And when you even get to certain areas, the uniform officer who is taking money from a police officer or maybe checking, he tells you guys, give mine before you go give that of your brothers. He tells you that there is a kind of, at the end of the day, who is suffering here is the common man. And I want to re-say again the aspect that if at all the separatist fighters took up arms to protect their own, you do not protect your own by making him suffer. Because when you make people used to pay, say, 3,000 francs to get to where they are going to, and now they pay 20 and 25,000. How does it sell the ideology? Of course, you want to tell the Yaoundé regime, like they put it at the Republic, that we master this area and we control it. But at the end of the day, it is the common man that is suffering. And that's why I think that, Mr. Liu, it's time that those who came up with this idea should rethink, because the idea is falling back on the common man and not actually those they targeted.
Okay, not those they targeted. There is somebody who has been struggling to call, but I said that we don't start taking calls since we just started the program. He says those who he's writing, I'm sure, from either the UK or the United or the USA. He says, I really like to respond verbally, else it's unbalanced. No, you are not a panelist, so you cannot say it's unbalanced. Yes, you're not a panelist. He says, those who massacred our people in Babanki, Boyo, Ekona, burned the Queen of Mejang, came by road. Yes, okay, you say they came by road. So when you block the roads, how do the people survive? Because if you are blocking the roads because people were killed in Babanki, people were killed in Boyo, people were killed in Ekona, and the Queen Mother was burnt, you are blocking the roads so that they cannot come. Are the military guys actually not going to when you block the road? Do the military not still go there?
I think when they talk about even blocking the road, let me just put it clear here: it's not physical blocking; it's through announcement.
Fact.
Yes, they don't block. It's not as if they are road blocked somewhere else. The people just need to hear that they have announced that the roads are blocked. Nobody passes. You know that you have seen the consequence, because they study from from the signs of the time. Many have attempted and cars have been burnt and all of those. So it's not as if there are some roadblocks somewhere where they block. It just suffices for the separatists to announce that this time around the routes are not supposed to pass. That is the way they block. It's not physical blocking. And I think that they are missing the point, because if you think that you are blocking the route from the military does not only need to use the route to pass. They can go through the air. They also use the route are the civilians. And the paradox of the issue is that when they even announce the route blockage, the military is passing. It's not as if the military is not passing. And when the military is passing, what I've witnessed is that the military is blaming the civilians for respecting the rule or the laws or the order of the separatists. But of course, who are the civilians? They are also very vulnerable. Why wouldn't they respect? They don't have arms. The separatists, they have arms. So the military actually pass through the route, even when they announced the route blockage. So I think that it is boiling down to the fact that the route, when they block the routes, as they do the announcement, the people who feel it much are the civilians, because the civilians, they have to look for another way around to get to their various destinations.
This person who is writing from the US or from the UK, he says that they are blocking the roads because people are being massacred in Babanki and lots of others. Do they really prevent either the administrative officials or the military guys from entering these areas?
That's one thing, Mr. Liu, because many times when we come on air like this and talk, when you already hear statements like they are being imbalanced, the next word is that you are this, they start labeling names. The first thing is that when people are killed, like what happened in Babanki that is cited, what happened in Manfe and other areas, how linked is that killing to a road? You first of all discover that he simply has an agenda and wants to pass across the agenda because there's a road that we are talking about, road issues. Now, when you look at the roads that are even blocked, Monsieur Liu, One, those when kidnappings are done in the northwest and the southwest region, there are done at times, some of these kidnappings are done in broad daylight, which means that you don't even necessarily need to block the road before going to kidnap. And at times when killings are done in the northwest and the southwest region, killings are done in broad daylight. It's not even during the night. Now, the point here that our brother may be missing, Mr. Leo, is the fact that we are looking at how a road that has been blocked is passing across an idea. How do you prevent a distance that used to be 400, like I gave the example, to Bali, and now people pay 1,000? How does it pass across a message? Of course, you want to tell Yaoundé that when it comes to this area, we control the area. It's the message you're passing across. Because I gave the example of paying 22,000 from Bamenda to Misaje, which is a distance that used to be 3,500. All this is because when you get to a certain area, the driver tells you this is a no-go area. And he has to take other bends in order to get to his area. So, Mr. Liu, at the end of the day, like Doctor said, we should be able and honest to ask ourselves certain questions. One, how, when you block these areas, how does it prevent a regime baron from Yaoundé from getting to Bamenda, from going down? We've seen them go to their villages once in a while. It's true that they don't go often, but once in a very short while, we see them going to their villages, either for campaigns, either to launch football tournaments, either to donate for back to school. They don't feel the pinch because at times some of them live with security. They live with CA cars, and of course we know that these cars are fueled by the state. But now at the end of the day, we are talking about me, we are talking about doctor, we are talking about the common man who has to ply these roads, but one has to get to certain areas and maybe spend the night. There are days I left the day I left Kambe for Bamenda. I got to Bamenda and my family met me 2 days after. Why? Because when they got to I think Uku, they were told that because of this, they want to change the military, because after a month or two, they changed those who were on security there. That because of security, is the driver telling them that because of security reasons, I will advise all of us stay here for 2 days. The question now is, Leo, how does that affect the government? But you now discover that it is a poor family that is suffering. And I feel that there are more ways to pass across an ideology. There are more intellectual ways that you can pass across an ideology. Because when you even look at what is even happening today, it's more of the hunter that is being hunted. Because it's like you've taken your dog for hunting, and at the end of the day, that dog has been caught by your own trap. That's what is happening to the locals of the northwest and the southwest region. And I think that it is time that we come back to the course.
When we seek to take some of these decisions, do we measure the possible outcome? And say roads have been blocked across divisions, and the intention, like somebody puts it, is that we want to stop the massacre of our people. We don't want the military to have access to this. But okay, the military is not coming, and you don't want the people to leave. How do the sick survive?
That is a question. I started by saying that when the crisis started and we started having accents, even on hospitals, you knew that there was something wrong about. How means that they didn't care about the sick people of our society. Because we have had people who have died because either because it was a ghost town day, a Monday, or the route was not passing. And nobody cares about it. And they are not in a position to address the issue. I have not heard a case whereby it is a ghost town day on a Monday and they are taking somebody to the hospital and they have helped the sick person to the hospital. First of all, they keep on saying that the hospitals are even owned by the colonizers or by the Republic. So what alternative are they giving the people? Because you cannot refuse the people the basic needs and then you don't give them an alternative which they can rely on. They themselves they get their treatment from holistic, drugs and medicine. Perhaps because they find themselves in a much more advantaged position than the other people, because they have the money And I just feel that there is really something wrong about either we have reached a turning point whereby there is the lack of strategy. The future is just blurred, and people are just acting out of ignorance. They don't really know exactly what they are doing. Because you will not understand that your people are there. In the world of today, people need first communication. There was one moment where the MTN antennas and the orange antennas, the guys who put it down, and they need the communication. I think it is afterward that they began to realize and said, but how can we be shooting ourselves in the foot? Because we ourselves, we need that communication. So that's why I say that it appears as if we have reached at the crossroads whereby we are confused of where to go. You refuse the people's school, and you are not given an alternative. You refuse them to go to the hospitals, and you don't give them an alternative. You refuse them from traveling, and you don't give an alternative. What do you want the people to do? The people need an alternative. And that is why I think we need to go back to the drawing board and ask ourselves, who is spearheading and who is giving the announcement, who is strategizing and giving, the orders for people to follow. Because it just suffices for information to go around to say that, no, today, it's ghost town, or today, this route has been blocked, and it is respected. And you see what happened. People have lost valuable property on our stretches of road. Look at what happened on the Bengue road. Construction company burnt down. That construction company doesn't belong to the government. It belongs to individuals. It belongs to your own brothers and sisters. But you burnt it down. The route from Bamenda to Kumbo, we have had series of vehicles that were burned down just because they disrespected what they call the road blocks, or they disrespected the ghost town or whatever. You burn down. This is, you are shooting yourself on the leg when you do that, because all those things belong to us, brothers and sisters. You want to kill all of us and then remain in your territory called the Ambazonia? Because those are the questions that we'll begin to ask now. And I think that the common man, the Northwesterner, the Southwesterner, they begin to ask these fundamental questions. Because you are killing businesses. You don't want people to have businesses, but you kidnap and ask for ransom. Where do you think the people take the money from? You want to kill the economy. You want to kill education. You just want to kill everything that is around them. Who is dictating and who is giving all these laws and who is giving all these orders are the things that we are yet to know. Because to believe that a transfer fare that cost in the past 5,000 francs, for example, Bamenda to Lassen, now is 17,000 francs.
Of course.
Now, how are you empowering the people economically for this to happen? Because these are the questions we are asking. From 5,000 francs to 17,000 francs, nothing has added on the revenue of the people. You are killing the revenue, but you are causing the people to pay huge sums of money. Double what they were paying or triple what they were paying without any other source of income. And then we ask ourselves, the Anglophone crisis. Can we go back and ask some research questions, some fundamental questions? Who started this? For what? For what reason did they start it? Where are we now with what we say with the idea? And where are we going to? I think that we need to ask some fundamental questions. Who are those who are blocking the roads? Are they Anglophones? Because it's another question that we should ask. It gives us reason to believe that they are not even Anglophones. Because if they're real Anglophones, putting your own people in this kind of suffering makes us believe that those who are doing are not Anglophones. Are they Anglophones? If they are not Anglophones, who are they? If they are Anglophones, what is their motive? What is the motive of blocking the road? Are you blocking the road for Yaoundé? Yaoundé there is feeling fine. People are living their lives in Yaoundé, and you are there in Dop, blocking the road, thinking that you are punishing somebody in Yaoundé. Just as foolish as when Macron came to Cameroon, people organized a ghost town in Bamenda when Macron was in Yaoundé. So that is why I'm saying that we need a strategy. We have gone out of our own strategy. We are falling short of our ideas. And I think that sometimes when you go for hunting and you realize that you are out of your breath, you can no more run, go back home. Go back home. Do not continue, because if you continue, you will have, your short breath. You lose your life in the course of, fighting or going after an antelope that you cannot catch. What am I saying? I'm saying that if we have reached a point where the crisis is above us, we are not able to achieve what you started or what they started, I think it's wise for them to make a U-turn.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Leonard. What is going on is not strange. The common man is a victim of circumstances. And Kwame Jacob is writing from Kumbu. This one says there is a control post to the entrance of Banguren just near the boundary from Babesi subdivision that is collecting 500 francs per passenger. I confronted them one day and they told me that they were at the borders. As anybody who has passed through that route, and they will confirm. Okay, greetings to you and everyone in the studio. Mr. Liu, I really feel very disappointed with what is going on in the northwest and southwest regions of our country. It is very true that our government has failed us, but the boys have failed us the more. This I say because it seems to instead be a war by the people on the ground against its people. It is terrible to remind ourselves of the fact that the two main spheres of life that ought never to be interrupted, education, health, are being attacked by those who claim to be fighting for us. This alone makes it difficult for an international body to identify with this so-called struggle. A so-called government is a complete toothless backing dog, because I can't imagine how she claims to be in control of the crisis cannot deblock the blocked roads, some of which are even national roads. Both the government and separatist forces have failed our people as they both exploit the suffering population. God help your people. We all need to internationally and expectantly more than ever before. Okay. Emmanuel is writing from Gaundure. Good evening, Mr. Liu and the entire crew. I'm Joseph Shaku writing from Douala. This issue of road blockade is a curse on the population, a complete disaster. We are unable to visit our villages due to the road blockade. For instance, the transport fare from Bamenda town to Oku used to be 3,000 francs. Now you have to pay 10,000 francs if you have to take a bike, then prepare 15,000 francs. Or go through Fumban. Meanwhile, you have to go through security blocks where you pay 2,000 francs per block to
That's what I said.
guys and pay an unfixed amount to Amber Boys. These roadblocks are at least 8 in number. Imagine transport fare alone plus what you have to pay at the roadblocks. It is horrible. Okay, good evening, Mr. Liu and your panelists. To hell with the fighters. We were the ones who were behind them, and if we realize they are instead there to punish us, we will turn against them, for it is now a business to the guys. Imagine the stress leaving Kambe to Bamenda. We will perform our traditional rites and all of that will stop. Mbu Emmanuel is writing from Kambe. Good evening, Mr. Liu and crew. I am Hermes Njoya from Ndop. Can you imagine that Bamenda to Ndop used to be 2,000 francs, now it is 10,000 francs per us. Okay, greetings to you in the studio. It gives me a lot of pain to see that those who claim to be fighting for us are rather making life very difficult. The roadblock is an instrument to empty those so claim to be fighting. Whether the road is blocked, the truth is that the military must move. You can't claim to be liberating people from captivity by sending them to more complicated challenges. There is nothing achieved in the roadblock apart from imprisoning our own self. Thanks. Theophilus, it's Jim Jung is writing there. Yes, let's look at the achievements so far. What have we achieved with the roadblock gate? It's true, they say it is to prevent massacre from happening. What have we actually achieved? Have we won the attention of the international community, because you say it is to show that we're in control? Yes. But at this time, 7 years, the economy is down, because the objective was also economic sabotage. But it is the economy of the people that is down as we speak, and the message to who?
Of course, the message is to no other person, Mr. Liu. It's rather showing that it's a failed project because when you want to do something, if you were to just go by the messages, if we were to take that as a vox pop, all those who have written, nobody seems to applaud any person for blocking roads. So it means at the end of the day that the message that has been sent is a negative one, and it rather tells an international community or any other person who wanted to give you a pat on the back that you cannot want to save the people, yet you're giving them more suffering. Because, Mr. Leo, far from the roads, you will discover that life generally is very hard in these areas. Hard because items are used to be sold are expensive now. Everything is expensive. And also, you will also discover that communal life seems to have disappeared. I gave you the example that was in the Northwest in December. I discovered something that by 6:30 people are disappearing. It's as though somebody had whistled that go back home. By 7 p.m. you see no person. But these are areas where people used to raise revenue and people came together and life was going on.
Yeah,
well.
but also understand that these areas are experiencing that they say they are the effects of the war now. We have to suffer. But how after 7 years?
That's why I'm saying that if we're to look at the balance sheet after 7 years, it's a negative one. What is positive so far? It is true you may have succeeded to impose ghost towns on Mondays. Okay? It is true you may have succeeded to say, okay, this is happening. But look at the adverse effects. Schools are being shut down and people leave these areas to come and study in other areas. Hospitals are being burned down every day. And the fare is increasing every day. It tells you that the idea you're sending in, the message you're sending, is a message rather of suffering. And that is why in areas, Mr. Liu, there are areas where we've seen communities have come out to denounce these activities, and they've gone physical with certain individuals. Why? Because they are asking themselves, you want to protect us. Before you came to protect us, let me take the example of a liquor. A bottle was 650. And I was shocked that I went to the village, is 1,015. The people are used to. Okay? And even the normal corn beer that the people used to consume for 100 francs, 150 is now 200. Because seemingly life is no longer, people don't leave other areas again to come and buy, and life tends at the same center. Who are you protecting? What message are you sending to who? At the end of the day, you are rather giving those who stood against the ideology from day one, or rather who supported the ideology. Because if you were to look at past programs that some of us have been here, Mr. Liu, we would say, okay, the people who took up arms were saying that, okay, the Fumban conference, this happened, that happened. But when you look at what is happening today and the reality in the field, you are asking yourself, for whose interest are these activities going on? There is a day I've been in Boya, Mr. Leonard, to come to Douala because I needed to work on Monday. I paid 3,000 francs at night. But it's a distance of 1,015. Why? Because the driver himself advises you that it's true vehicles pass on Monday, but staying here on a Monday or traveling on a Monday is risky. Who is suffering? It's me. It's a poor man. So I think that, Mr. Liu, if we were to talk about achievements, and I tell you that I know of any, apart from the fact that these persons have passed an idea of saying that we own this area. Because like a brother wrote, I think who wrote from Douala, who is from Kambe, that when you pass through, for instance, when you take other areas like the road through Uku, at one time you are held down by the separatist fighters. And one thing I want to say, Mr. Liu, is the military knows where these people stand. Why not go crack them down? It tells you to an extent that, I don't want to say complicity, but to an extent too, you're also saying that these guys are also strong. But now when you take the road like what I took through Fumban, Magba, and came right to the Bafusam, the multiple checkpoints you see as you leave, after say, you don't move for up to 10 minutes to meet the checkpoint. And at each checkpoint, you even ask yourself whether the driver ends up taking something home. Because if you were to look at the checkpoints that I saw from, say, Kambe right up to Bafusam, there were more than 15. And at each checkpoint, the driver comes down and goes. As a journalist, I sat with the driver ahead, and at each spot, I was asking him, what did you give? So at one point, before he gets to the checkpoint, he told me, okay, this is what we take already because the prices are known. Mr. Leo, who is suffering? Is it not you and I? It's a common driver who now takes the risks, because I said something first of all here, that those who even ply the roads of the northwest, particularly the northwest, nowadays are strong. I don't want to say they have protection somewhere, but they are strong. Why? Because in each place they are going to, they know that, okay, when we get to this checkpoint, this is what happens. When we get here, this is what happens. And at times, they even know us and means to avoid, because I gave you the example of a sister who was traveling and got, and they told them, because of these reasons, you guys are going to sleep here. You cannot take that kind of a decision if you are not in complicity, or if you are not working with someone. So, achievement-wise, Mr. Leo, it's time we gave a thought about this aspect of blocking our roads. It's true that the roads are, first of all, not too good. But before the crisis, we are looking at what, even the bad state of the roads, people used to pay. We are looking at what they are paying now. Not necessarily because fuel prices have skyrocketingly increased, no. But because people now travel under conditions, and checkpoints are all over, and if you dare, there are two things. They can either impound your car or you can be killed. Dr. Nzimancho gave example of cars that have been put down. We know of traveling agencies that have almost been shut down in the southwest because these guys were flying Kumba to Douala on Mondays. So the people now want to tell you, when you do that, they say, okay, you have violated the law. Now, how do you keep to the law? Automatically on Mondays, you are not supposed to travel. And someone who wants to travel on Monday needs to take extra risks. So I just feel that talking about achievements, Mr. Liu, of course, many of persons should be listening, and they may give any name they want to give to any individual, but it's time we give we need to rethink the idea of roads, because it's not serving any purpose. I would like
you to react to some of the messages coming in. Evening, Mr. Leo and great panel. We, the Anglophones, are shooting ourselves on the leg. I was in Alu in Libya Lem division last 2 weeks. The situation is devastating. It takes grace to go there and come back safe. Everywhere is bushy. Hi, good evening. I'm Grace from Douala. We just hope all those causing this problem are really listening to you, because most of these people are illiterate, because someone who is educated won't go around burning schools, churches, businesses, and spoiling roads. We are supposed to be protecting these properties, make our children educated, not making them illiterate. Thanks, okay? Good evening, Mr. Liu. Anglophones should stop talking too much. We need to stop respecting the Monday ghost towns, and should we be respecting the ghost towns and expect those boys to stop blocking the roads? It doesn't make sense. Okay. This one says they have achieved increments of illiterate, high pregnancy rate, more thieves, more killings, increase in poverty, more spread of diseases, frustrations. Quinta is writing from Bomenda. Good evening, Mr. Kum. I think what Doctor is saying is in place. I think that it is time for communities to organize themselves, okay? This one says, good evening, Mr. Liu and Co. This is Clifford writing from Yaoundé. Thanks for the timely topic. I have some worries about these roadblocks. We have learned that specific portions of the roads are being blocked for months, and yet the military does not clear them off. Can we say the military lacks the might to right such wrongs? 2, have we not heard of places in the northwest region where amber checkpoints alternate with military checkpoints in distances of less than 2 kilometers? What stops the military from dismantling such neighboring amber checkpoints? I think that the politics behind the road blockades are deeper and complicated than some of us can comprehend. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Kum. These roadblocks does not only affect travelers. Even farmers find it very difficult to sell these farm products because buyers don't no longer go down to villages like Indop to buy crops. So this is really bringing pains to the population. Thank you. Godwill is writing from Indop. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Liu and the panelists. In every dark sky, there is a silver line. Road blockades and other ways of reinforcement are part of the revolution. Every revolution has its pros and cons. If not for this crisis, we wouldn't have known that the French government wants to assimilate the Anglophones, even the military respected ghost towns. Donwy Peter is writing from Kumba. Yes, how do we, this reasoning that, okay, we are suffering because we are supposed to gain and that we have to suffer more to gain more. Does it convince you, Doctor?
It doesn't. This takes me to an experience. I happened to talk with one of these separatist guys. I sent him a message because at least I got his number somewhere. And I sent him a message and I said, but have you heard how many of your friends are dropping arms and surrendering and going to the DDR? And the man got furious and asked me and told me that it is an act of cowardice for anybody to do that, to drop his arms and get it. That if he has to drop his arm, you will not go to the DDR, you would rather run and go to Nigeria. I said, but do you think going to Nigeria too is safe? So, and the one word that he used to me was that his statement. He said, this war that we are fighting, it may not even be us that are going to win the war. The generation to come is going to win it. Yeah, well, not only benefit, they will win the war. So according to him, he feels that some other generation will come, we will continue the fight. And I told him, please, just know that you are going with this war, and this war will end with you. Because how do you think that people who have seen the kind of cowardice that we have exercised in fighting this war, who will be motivated to come and join you in fighting the war? Nobody. I know this war has exposed, just like the question asked Prince. I mean, what is the achievement? The achievement to me, I'll say some few, that it has actually exposed us to that saying, the Francophones saying that we are the gauchers. Gaucher means those who think in the left. And it is true. It has shown that we think in the left because there is no strategy. We started something that we couldn't end, and we have seen the way it is turning on around. Secondly, the achievement is that it has helped us to trust the military more. Because let me tell you, when I live here and I'm going to Bamenda, or I'm going past Bamenda, I trust where there is a military more than where there are the boys. I mean, that's why I feel more secure.
Yes.
I mean, I'm safe. I feel safe where I'm going to meet the military than I'm going to meet the boys. So this is one of the achievements I've had, that we trust the military more. And the third achievement I would say is that we have learned to know that Anglophones are their own enemies. That if we fight amongst ourselves, you know, this crisis has exposed a lot of things because there has been a lot of score settling. A lot of people have died in this war because of jealousy, because you felt they were prospering, you were not prospering, and now it is an opportunity for you to get. I mean, it has made us to understand how some people have black hearts and how they can revenge things that people didn't do. And it has also helped us to know that we cannot stand alone. That's one achievement. It has helped us, the government, of course, to know that Anglophones cannot stand alone. Why am I saying so? How many leaders we have in the Anglophone crisis? We have about, I don't know, they are countless. How many generals do we have who didn't have the training? How many, those different fighting groups, how many do we have? So many. No coordination from anybody. Anybody inflicting his own. It means that what? Those who stand in DOP and say that there's a roadblock are not the very people who stand en route to Mbengui, are not the very people who stand en route to Fundong. Means that you stand anyway and you inflict your own pains that you want to inflict on your people, you don't care. Now, it has also taught us that we have to live together. Because many Anglophones who are not used to the Francophone section now want to come to the Francophone section. And now it appears as if they live more happily with their Francophone brothers than they are in the Anglophone region. And I like the way that the Francophones have received the Anglophones, because, I mean, I think that it has shown that we can rebuild this Cameroon and live together. And that those who started agitating, we have had a lot of groups that were coming, the NCNC and all of those things that were coming up. And those are people who have gone under this issue of the Anglophone crisis and are flaming it. And they think that because some of them are going on self-exile, and they think that it is in doing this that they are going to have the leeway to come back to Cameroon. I think that we have to come back to reason, as somebody has said. Do we love ourselves? Do Anglophones really love themselves? If you love yourselves, then I don't think that what is happening in the Anglophone region now is not supposed to happen, because you know where the military is. Like somebody said, you see the military barracks here, and you see the separate, and that is why this cause is a cause for concern for the general who is in charge of this in the Northwest and Southwest. That I've realized that once the military, you send a battalion there and those more than 2 weeks or 2 months, for example, now you are creating more chaos because they get used to the guys. And I don't want to say untold things that we are hearing. This, we are hearing horrible stories. Because we are not only blaming the separatists, even the military too. Some of them have their blames. They are not out to fight the war. They are out to have their own gain and to make their own, revenue from what is happening. But we are saying that there is no way in which you will thrive on the blood of people. No ambition, no greed should lead you to walk or to swim in the blood of an individual. Because you will never enjoy that. You know, there's what we call a boomerang in life. You think that you are thriving on somebody else's sweat, on blood. It comes back to you sooner or later. And I believe in, some people say that it is after this life. I believe in that payment here in life. And these are brothers and sisters. We need to keep on sensitizing them. Somebody has sent a message and said they are illiterate. But if they are really illiterate, then we need to talk to them. That once you touch somebody's blood, you kill by spilling blood. There is one thing that you will never escape from it, is that blood that will haunt you. And that is what is happening. So I think many of them are dying, and they do not know why they are dying. Yeah, so I think we need to...
But you say killing, they will not see it as killing. They will tell you that it's an act of self-defense. There is a guy who was just killed today in... Yes, they'll say it's act of
self-defense.
They sat and they were imposed, reward was imposed on them.
Well, people say it's act of self-defense. It's self-defense when you think that self-defense should be with the military. Because since this crisis started, I have not heard a civilian going to attack. Well, the only thing civilians will do is like those mothers in Bamaki will go out and march and say, oh, those are excesses. They are marching with their things and going around and saying, please, those are excesses we don't want. If you are killing in self-defense, it should be a military that you are killing, not a civilian. Because I don't know of civilians that are having guns. And they are the military that come to attack you, and if you, fire back, perhaps you are killing in self-defense. Not that, like the example you are quoting in Bamenda. Didn't see that guy, they killed him in the shop. How was it a self-defense? How did that guy attack them? So, these are some of the things that, and like the SDA will sing, when I go kill with tire. Yeah. That is the thing. This is the same thing that's applying to us. You want to kill all the Anglophone simply because somebody has come and told you that this one has reported. And like somebody said already, and was so interesting, that these guys, as they come for the civilians, when they see the military, the running that they take, it is more than, they fear the military more than even, so you are working with guns instead of standing up and fighting with the military. When you hear they are coming, just the sound of the vehicle, you run into the bush. And they are the civilians that you come for to say that this one is a black leg, this one is this. You went and reported us. Yes, they reported you. Stand and fight with the people. You said you want to fight. You said you want to gain an independence. An independence is only fought. Political independence is not given on a platter of gold. Political independence is given through fighting and serious fighting. And therefore, you cannot go and hide under the banana sucker and then looking on only the weaker vessel, and then you say you're fighting for a political independence. It can never work. So that is why I'm saying that when you go for hunting and you realize you have gone out of breath, go back home and rethink before you go back to the next day. I think that we have gone out of breath in the Anglophone crisis, and it's high time we say that we didn't mean it. We were just joking. We have surrendered.
Okay, Prince Joel, someone is writing about the difficulty for farmers to bring their stuff to the markets in the main towns, and also very difficult for the buyers to go down there and purchase these goods. How do most of the people living in these communities are farmers? How do they survive?
Of course, Mr. Liu, I said it before that one of the things that has also made life to become very difficult is because people used to get revenue from other commerce. I give you a very simple example in Misaje. For instance, Saturday is a market day there. It means that on this Saturday, you had people who came down from Lasin, you had people who came from Fuka, you had people who came from Kumbu, you had those who came from Kambe. You see that it's a whole people coming from different areas, and when they meet, it's of course buying and selling, which means that a mama who came with a plantain or who came with a maize to sell, of course she's going to meet a better buyer. But now when life has to stay only within the same people, somebody is afraid that if I leave Kumbu to come down to Kambe to buy this, someone is afraid that if I leave Bamenda to come to Ndop to buy this, and someone is afraid that if I leave, maybe say Bamenda, I'm going down to Bali to buy this, there is a problem. You now discover that the people are living a kind of a subsistent economy, and we're almost going back to trade by barter system, whereby what is produced is consumed by the same individuals, and the few persons who have the means are those who can transport now their items to bigger towns. And we're talking about, if you were, for instance, to be in, say, Kambe, for instance, or you were maybe, say, in Lasin, or you were maybe, say, even in Fundong, you need to carry these things to Bamenda. Now you look at the cost. When you look at the cost of transporting these things, Mr. Liu, let me tell you one thing, that I went to the village and parents came as usual. When you go to the village, it's okay, our son has come, they give you lots of things.
Let me take this call. He has been insisting. Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening, and thank you for taking me. I am very, very delighted that you accepted to take me to be part of this conversation. Now, I'm calling from the diaspora, so from the outset, I should say we did not start this struggle in the diaspora. We sit here, we see how our people are being killed, and our people tell us, please, our brother, not us. The people that are killing them, they are not our brother around. I can name you Bafut Massacre, Bakundu Massacre, Muyuka Massacre, Bali Massacre, Ngarbu Massacre, Kwakwa Massacre, Ekoda Massacre, Buru Massacre, Babanki Massacre. So when they call us, and we see it, we see the pictures. Amnesty is reporting that 6,000 of our people have been killed. Killed by who? People who speak French. They come from Cameroon. We are Ambazonians. You know, I speak as an Ambazonian. And I don't accept that somebody else should give us names. We never said that we are Nozo people. We never said we are northwest, southwest of Cameroon. We never said that we are
Hello. What is your name, sir? What is your name, sir? What is your name, sir?
My name is Collins, sir.
Okay, we are talking about the roads that have been blocked. When you block the roads, how do the people survive? How do the farmers survive? How do how do patients go to the hospital?
Okay, let me answer your question, sir. That is very easy to. The first thing, I think that our people are more important than roads. If La Republic does not come by air to massacre in Babanki, they came by road. So if our forces, they block the road from Bamenda, and only the military is using that road, before they come, our forces have disappeared. It's an asymmetric fight. We cannot stand them. We don't have the firepower. People like you, they are not contributing for the struggle. So you don't expect that our forces can stand and say, oh, military, we are fighting with you. They are not fools. So when that road is blocked, the military is passing, it's the only vehicle that is passing. Before they reach our boys, they have known that they are coming, so they will hide or ambush them and delete them. So that's the tactic that they are using.
Okay. Yes. He has been calling. You got his reasoning. How do you understand this?
The first thing I must say is that he identified where he belonged. He talked about the fact that he is an Ambazonia. Of course, I understand when you are in a debate and the pros and the cons, each person has an angle to take. So I understand his ideology. But now I think that one thing he failed to explain to me is I gave him a road that I used to pay 3,000 and 3,500 francs that has increased to 22,000 and 25,000. I would have wanted to know how, when the military passes through that area and they have blocked it, how the price. Because if you block the military, people, the more that goes down, those in the northwest and the southwest, Mr. Liu, are getting used to it. But we're talking about a situation where you block a road and the consequences are not only felt on that day, but they are felt like forever. Because when I heard him talk about, cited a good number of persons who have been attacked, Mr. Liu, we should be honest to say that in what is ongoing in the northwest and the southwest, the killings come from both fronts. Come from both fronts. That's a fact. And that we've also been able to have, I give you the case of Ngarbu, like he said. A commission was put in place by the head of state, President Paul Biya, and the commission came out to say that those who were massacred in Ngarbu were killed by the military. We have also had situations where persons are killed, like the case of our colleague who was killed in Bamenda. We listened to a video from Capo Daniel saying that he was killed by the separatist fighters because they mistook him for a gendarme or a commander. Now, it tells you that from both angles already, even if one were to go by what both persons have said, all the factions have taken responsibilities for killings. But this is where my worry is, Mr. Leo. My worry is how it benefits the common man. Because from 2016...
Let's understand, he's calling from out of the country.
That's what I wanted to
Okay.
Yes, I really wanted, because it is a shame, it is a pity. And you see somebody calling out of the country and trying to kind of ignite some feelings in people. Wherever he is calling for, and I'm sure that it can either be in the UK or in Europe or in America, where a route cannot be blocked for one day. I mean, he is talking about allowing the separatists to see the military passing. And this is somebody living abroad and saying this kind of a thing, that you need to block a route for 2 weeks just for separatists to see military passing. I mean, I see that somebody is out of his mind. Somebody who is living abroad, he's talking about this, that they have to block a route for 1 month for the separatists to see how only the military is passing, and not thinking about how the people are going to survive.
No, he says lives are better than...
Which lives? Oh my God!
Without cutting doctor, this is the mindset we entered into in 2016. I have a young cousin who lost a year of education because the misconception was that the certificates who come from La République, they are useless, and that do not go to school. Next year, schools will be created. There are people who fell for that, and of course, they are regretting when you come with misconceptions, Ms. Elio. Because when some of us speak today, they will say, okay, you're speaking from the other side of your mouth, you have been bought, you have been this, you are that. But when you sit down and analyze what has been happening in the Northwest, Southwest, from 2016 to 2013, let's talk about politics, for instance. If you look at politically speaking, in the whole Northwest and the Southwest region, the Social Democratic Front, the SDF, has just one council. That should be the Bamenda 3 council. The rest is controlled by the CPDF. Of course, and it is only at the National Assembly or the Parliament where laws are made. So you boycott elections, people go and vote and get more votes. You stay away from schools, the rich take away their children from those local areas to towns. Schools in Douala are flooded. In Bafoussam are flooded. In Yaoundé is the same case. But now, a local mom who cannot afford, because I know stories. I watched a report that was done by a colleague of us. I saw a child who wept because she said her dream was to become a model. But now this child says she has been in the house for 3 years and she's assisting her mom to sell bananas by the roadside. And you're asking yourself how this can preserve lives. Monsieur Lo, it's time we went back to the drawing board, like Dr. Nzimancho said.
Let me take this one other caller. Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Lo.
Yes, your name and where you're calling from. Hello? Hello?
I'm calling from Adamawa.
Okay, go on. Hello?
Tom Ado of Cameroon. I don't know whether he feels the pains of his people in Cameroon as he is abroad, sleeping on good bed.
That's the question.
Feeding well. His children or him is going to school. I don't know whether...
Hello? Oops. So many calls. Can we just, I don't know how to stop the call so that we... Okay, you were to learn, but he talks about the fact, and some people are writing that, what do we value, roads or people?
That is really what I wanted to say, because somebody says that lives of our people matter most. So when you kill life, how does it matter? You eat your cake and you have it. You inflict people suffering and they die. As many are dying because they cannot go to the hospital because roads are blocked. And then you say the life of your people matter. Is that not a mockery? That's what I think, that people are not feeling the reality of what is happening on the ground. And that is why somebody will comfortably say that he is an Ambazonian. Yes, that's what he said. Yeah, I am an Ambazonian. It is ridiculous. You are an Amazonian, you don't have the feelings of an Ambazonian. Let me say this clearly, as I usually use my analogy. I say, you come to my village to make a study about the highest traditional juju.
Hello?
Yeah, am I online?
Yes, go on.
Yeah, I said that if Africa, which are fueling this thing in Cameroon, that they are has this man ever called his village, if he is from Northwest or Southwest, sisters are going through, he won't have said this, because he is in America.
Can you call using
It's a disgrace to Ambazonia that they will allow their children not to be going to school.
Hello, can you call using your normal line and not the WhatsApp, because WhatsApp calls we have so many interruptions, please. Yeah, but no, you value life and not the roads. That's what he's saying. Now, the people cannot. We saw the video of a mother or somebody in Bello who was taken to the hospital using a wheelbarrow.
We've seen corpses transported
on the bike.
Yeah. So, where is the value in protecting lives in all of this?
This is the question I really wanted the caller to explain, how you value life by killing the life. This is the issue, because if somebody cannot go to the hospital, people cannot eat, because when you block transportation, you are indirectly saying that you don't want any transportation of food or basic necessity or commodities from village to village or from town to village. And then you say you want to preserve life. What life are you preserving? That you block a road and then you allow only the military to pass so that they can see the military and shoot. That is the way they are preserving life, that the Ambazonia can see the military and clearly and then fight for or shoot them. I think that there are certain statements that we do not expect from certain group of people, especially the people like this who are living out of the country, where when just a little traffic, just power outage for 1 hour, people suffer. And then you come to back home, you keep on treating us. Perhaps the caller left Cameroon, so many years ago, and you still feel that we are still living in that era when he left and people didn't know their left or their right. So I think that in the world of today, communication also entails traveling. And you cannot say that you put your people in the same place and refuse them, connectivity. You refuse them business transaction. You refuse them,
communal
life. And then you say that you are preserving life. You want to, I want to see the group of people you want to preserve, and for what period of time he wants to preserve, so that they can now start living. Now, people are dead. So he's preserving, or people are still unborn. He's preserving life that is still to be born, or babies still to be born, so that at a particular time, when he must have decided to come back to Cameroon and live a true Ambazonian, then those people can still start living their life. I think that we should reason our statement. If you have traveled to your own, back to your village, or since 2018 till now, then you will understand that such statements are not to be welcome. Such statements should, I expect, if he's a true Ambazonian, as he's saying, whatever the Ambazonian means, I don't understand, because that he started by saying that you should not bring people of the same. I think that you should understand that our people need to live their lives, and that our people like Rosa Parks will say in the United States of America in the 1950s, our people have borne so much for so long a time, and it is time that we leave them to live their life. And please, don't prove yourself to be the main sponsor, because the anger now can fall on him. I mean, when he says like this, it shows that those are the people, because the way that he has enumerated the places where there has been massacre, and he has concluded that all those massacres were done maybe by La Republic. We here, we do not rush into conclusions. We here, because everything happens. Everything happening, and it's possible. And then we believe that even our own brothers are killing our own brothers. We believe in it. That's what is happening here in the Anglo region. So when you stand there, you are there in the Europe or in America, and then you give conclusion, hasty conclusion, and you say that they are massacre here, by massacre, and you say this massacre have been done by the military. We here are saying no. We are interested here is not knowing who has done the massacre. We are interested in stopping the massacre, and that we have born so much for so long a time, and that we do not have another life to live, or we don't have another life that we are preserving. This is already our life that we want to preserve now. Please help us preserve this life now. Don't keep some life and say you want to preserve some life for the future. You want to kill us now and then preserve some part. Certainly he's talking about his children who are there, who are going to come afterwards when we must have all died here. That is the life that he wants to preserve. Please, we want to preserve the life here. Be the life of an Amba separatist, be the life of a soldier, be the life of a civilian. All the lives are important, and we want to preserve all those lives now, because no life is better than another. Let nobody spill blood and say you are preserving life.
Okay. Now, this decision, like our brother called from, I'm sure from the UK, and says that the people are saying, if we were to conduct a census,
who is the people? Who are the people?
If we were to conduct the census today, and they say, would you want this road blocked or we preserve your life? Are you sure that the people will say he is speaking their minds? Because he says that people are calling him to say. But we are having people writing here. Some persons may think that I'm selecting messages, but anybody who wants me to forward the messages as they're coming, I'll forward them. At least it is a litmus test to say what people are feeling on ground.
Yeah, the first thing is he doesn't have the reality on the field. He doesn't. He's not within Cameroon, and as such, you will not understand that my poor grandmother in the village, who used to get up and get her cup of chai for 100, needs to buy it now for 250. Of course, he's in the UK, and maybe he may have money to sponsor the family. The second thing is, he's in the UK. I may not understand that there are people who've spent close to 7 years now without going to school because they don't have money to leave the particular area where they are. And thirdly, he would not understand because he has not come to areas like Bonaberi and saw children sleeping on the street. I come from that area. You see children sleeping on the street. There are beautiful girls who've been turned to waitress in snacks at a very meager salary. Some earn 10, 15,000. There are those who go and assist in a restaurant because all they want is a plate of food at the end of the day. When you take this reality, Mr. Leo, when you take this reality, it tells you. And when you even go down, like some of us who go down to the field, and you talk with people, the truth is, in 2016, you present an agenda to a people, and the people say you're correct. Remember here that, Mr. Leo, I'm not saying that certain things within Cameroon are not wrong. I'm still one of those who believe that if the president, like was said in Fuma, if the president comes from La République, let the vice or the prime minister or the first personality come from the English extraction. Those are things that are there. But now, when you look at a people who have shifted from an intellectual ideology, because everything about the crisis now has been intellectual and intellectually oriented. But now when you look at the sufferings that the people are going through, of course, if you were to go down there and in a vox pop and ask them, you just say 10 or say 20 and ask them, if you were to vote either to continue where you are or for life to come back the way it was before 2016, what will you prefer? Of course, many of them will prefer what they experienced before 2016, because before 2016, parents did not have to travel on or to be pushed via wheelbarrows to be taken to hospitals. Of course, before 2016, hospitals existed. And now, there are areas where there are still hospitals in the northwest and the southwest. But there are communities that have been completely burned down. What becomes of those people? And a few who run away and come up to the urban areas do not have where to stay. So I think that, Mr. Leo, the people here, of course, should not be the few ordinary Cameroonians. We still have diehards who tell you that whatever we are going through is just the price you need to pay for independence to come. But from 2016 to 2023 is so much longer time. And doctor said something, I had to talk to one of them, and they said that even if what is being fought now is those of the future generation that will tap from, and you're asking yourself when that future will be, because in what I've seen so far, Mr. Leo, what I've noticed so far from 2016 is that the government, the Bias government, is not a government that will someday say, okay, we have accepted, you guys have defeated us. Never. Or that the military must leave the northwest and the southwest. It will never exist. Because these are ideologies that started in 2016. And here we are in 2023, they are still going. And situations are getting worse for the common man. Every day the situations are getting worse. And one thing you hear is someone sits in the diaspora and tells you, the people. Which people? The people whose life have become miserable. The people who used to live a life with their 500, with their 1,000 francs, they could at least afford something. But now, life has become unbearable because most persons who used to come for their day-to-day activities, maybe during their markets, don't longer come. Prices of basic goods and commodities have increased. And the economy is falling because they don't longer go about their daily activities. I just feel that, Leo, if you were to go to the northwest and southwest today, or you just cross to neighboring Bonaberi, where most of those who fled and some of who did not have where to stay are even staying by the roadside, and you ask them. I met a small girl who gave me her experience, and I tell you, I wept. There's a child who had to run away from the village during the night and got there after she had been raped, and she gets here with pregnancy. So these are horrible things. We've been to the field and we've talked to people. People tell you horrible experiences I've gone through. I have a brother who is also a big man, who had to run away without taking even a pen. Why? Because his head, they came for his head. So now these are some of those realities, Mr. Liu. Remember, I've said something here that no one is cancelling certain facts. Cancelling the facts, one, that there were certain agreements. I'm sure Doctor will agree with me that when you look at what Doctor and I, for instance, have been saying in 2016, 2017, 2018, and 2020, progressively we are shifting.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, you're not shifting because any person bought you.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Yeah.
If some of us wanted to speak for certain persons, would have done that long ago. But we are saying that the Anglophone crisis was that if the first president is this, let the second be this. I'm sure Doctor will agree with me.
Yeah.
And that English and French should be given equal status. There are so many reasons for the crisis. The reasons are genuine. But now, when the crisis need to be transformed to rape your own parents, to have people like Christian Cardinal Tome, may so rest in perfect peace, being picked by his own children and molested. When you have people like Nijon Fundi, may so rest in perfect peace, being picked and molested. When you have people like Senator Regina Munzi being picked and molested, you ask yourself, look at the phone of it's Bambala, I'm sure, who was just released recently, who had spent close to 18 months with you people. You're asking yourself that, how does this send a message to Yaoundé? Because your target is La Republique. When you now make people to pay from 3,000 to 16,000 or to 20,000, how does Yaoundé suffer the effect? I have friends. We are in Douala. I have friends of French instruction that when you finish a panel like this, they tell you openly, "À la fin qui s'ouvre, c'est vous."
Okay, let me take what our televiewers are saying. I'll read down some of the messages that are coming in to tell, especially the person who called from the diaspora, who says people are talking to them. Let us find out what the people are actually saying. Mr. Leo, what the boys have achieved is only ghost town and nothing else. Joseph is writing from Bamenda. Good evening to everyone in the studio. I am writing from Dub. The center of this issue revolves around the head of state, because if he wants the crisis to end today, it will. But as all this is happening and the government is seeing what is happening, the people in the diaspora are seeing as well, but the common man is suffering. But I believe if the government wants this crisis to end today, it will. I feel like some persons sitting somewhere are benefiting from this crisis and doesn't want it to stop. Good evening. In my opinion, it is foolishness blocking roads linking the northwest and southwest. If they were really serious with what they are fighting for, it would have been more reasonable for them to block roads linking English-speaking regions to the French-speaking regions. Good evening, sir. The man who is saying our people are more than road is a big lie. A young man died in Dub today because of lack of roads to take him to the hospital in Bamenda, and Peter writing from Dub. And many are dying every day. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Taxing high prices is due to many checkpoints, high prices of petrol, and bad roads. I'm Maxell writing from Bakweri Town, Boya. Hello, Mr. Liu. Greetings to the panelists. Since the Fundong road was blocked, poor children who have to go to the cities to do holiday jobs had to go through Womb, paying 40,000 francs to reach Bamenda. It is a terrible situation. Nevertheless, the crisis is at its dying end. Thanks. Bisu is writing from Bamenda. Good evening, sir. My name is Ashu. I am writing from Banga. Those guys are really not serious. They don't even know that they are destroying their own land, and I just want to let them know that it's for their own good. That's dullness, total dullness. I'm highly angry with these guys, okay? War is bad and should be avoided. Are there no people to talk about the ending of the war? Mfoya is writing from Yaoundé. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Just want to ask this question. Who is to blame, and could there be a solution? Ayaton Kelvin is writing from Yaoundé. Good evening, Mr. Liu. The program is very interesting and helpful. I wish our brothers out there could listen to this message. It's really painful. Fanny Kenneth is writing from Betua. Good evening, Mr. Liu. This topic of discussion tonight is a good one, but it's unbalanced because we all know that during periods of war, civilians tend to suffer the most, so it's not something strange. Every day we are calling for peace in the northwest and southwest, but still there is no peace. If the government really wants peace, they should stop sending military into the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon. How can they be sending can you claim to be a peacemaker and you are holding a gun? Okay. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I just want to add to the point Doctor made. For example, in Big Babanki, the road had been blocked for almost a month now, and the separatists promised the road will be blocked till further notice. Yet the military is inside the villages presently as we speak, but they have never come out to confront the military, not even a single day. They have all run out of the coming of the military. Yet they are sending threat messages through WhatsApp to villagers, warning villagers that they will be back when the military is gone, and the civilians are their target because they are the ones who called the military to come. It's truly terrible, sir. Fanny is writing from Bamenda. Good evening, Mr. Liu and panelists. Roadblocks is like shooting yourself on the leg. Same thing if you go on hunger strike. But as a good father will not be a concern if your children are uncomfortable. The government should show some common concern, because the lives of 2 cubes of sugar matters. In fact, every life matters, okay? Good evening, Mr. Kum. We earlier supported Amber, but now they are paying us, the Anglophones. The youth should never, ever make this kind of mistake. Let all villages copy from Campbell. Didymus is writing from Bamenda. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I'm as Nunga from Boya. The crisis has brought out so many misconceptions. We need to understand that road patrol before the Anglophone War had built houses to so many security officers and opened big businesses for them before the separatist fighters used these roadblocks to stop military from entering, because how many of them used aircraft to come to this region? But as their money stream, which came from abroad, reduces, they now use these roadblocks as means to raise funds. But my question is, why are the military taxing people? Okay. Good evening. I'm Maya Ladifa, writing from Bamenda. I like your program. It is very interesting. But what I will say is that road blockade will only lead to a negative effect. There is no positivity in blocking roads. For example, it will lead to damages of farm products, which could bring income for the farmers. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Liu. That guy who just called is not normal. Can you believe I came to Bamenda to buy and go back to Jakiri, but I'm blocked here because I need to pay more than 3,000 or 30,000 francs just to transport. So if this guy is human, then he won't talk the way he did. I wish he was on ground zero, so to have a taste of this. But these are what people are writing, Doctor.
Yes.
You have read it there. I was just reading randomly.
So
Yeah, but when we still have persons who will say, no, let us value human life. Now, this other guy says, since the military came, the guys have fled. So what, you are blocking the road against who when the military is there?
That is a question that we sought to, because it was a question I was asking myself before the person from the UK said he wants to preserve life. And I said, but you are blocking the road from your own people, and the military is passing hitch free. And the explanation is given is that when the military is passing, they can easily see. They know that the only car plying the road is the military, that the Amber Boy can easily see. As if the Amber Boy doesn't even know where the military are found. Those are the people who are having the same road blocks on the same stretch of road. They know where they are. Do they need to see them pass before they know that they're the military? So that is the issue. And you see, from those messages, it's a perfect testimony of the fact that Anglophones have turned their backs. Because when we were the only ones talking here, yeah, you see, when we are the ones talking
just
here,
say that you selected.
that's right.
I was just reading and reading.
On my phone, some people will call us blacklegs or what, say that we are supporting just one side of the story. It's good to hear from the Anglophone themselves, because when you sit over there, you think that maybe people don't have the information. We are going on ground. I was in Bamenda last week, and I went to the interior, to the hinterland of Bamenda. I went to a village in Bamenda, and I know the reality of what is happening on the ground. So when we stand here to talk, we are talking about what we are living. It's not what we are hearing. You sit in the UK, in your comfortable zone with your children, going to school, in your air conditioned room, riding your good car, and then you say, an Ambazonia. Ambazonia in what? In the sponsorship of separatists. I think that is just all that you can boast of, because people are hanging on something. Some people have gone on self-exile. We don't want to know why some people are over there and sponsoring what is happening here. And if you don't suffer, your mother suffers, or your relative suffers, or the people in your village suffer. We need to care about this. Now, from the testimonials we have had, we have seen that Anglophones are fed up. They are fed up of all of this, because they have understood that, the dog that prevented his master, or that protected his master, has turned and beaten him. How does this happen? That the dog protects you and bites you at the same time? The separatists were like the dogs that they stood to preserve us, to defend us. But today, things are not the same. I sleep, I get on to Bamenda, and I fear when I sleep. There's fear in me, because the only fear is that somebody will come in, and the only person who will come in and not ask a question is an Ambazonian fighter. Because even when it's a military, when they kill you, at least they ask a question. But these people, they don't ask a question. All they tell you is, we have heard that you receive calls every day of people calling you and say they have heard that you are not supporting the fight. They have heard that you are a black. They have heard that this is the way they do their conclusion. And we are saying that this is not where we were heading to. We have simply missed our route, and that we are at the crossroads. And we need either soothsayers or spiritualists to tell us the right road to go. And we have known the right road to go. And the right road to go is that we knew that where we were coming from was a wrong place.
Now, protecting the road blockade, because that is the focus for tonight's program. When you say I'm taking an action, a measure, you're putting a measure in place. You look for alternatives.
Of course.
That okay, the essence is to protect life, like they say, that the road is not more than the lives. Now, when you block the road, businesses are crippled. Maybe the drugs may get finished because let's assume that nothing enters. The drugs cannot come in, the Maggi cannot come in, the salt cannot come in, and then the roads are blocked indefinitely.
Okay.
Do you have what it takes to provide an alternative? Because the essence is that people should suffer, as we are saying. Okay, it is war, so people have to suffer. But to what extent do they have to suffer?
That's the $1 million question begging for an answer, because when you shut down businesses, there are business tycoons, Mr. Liu, who make no less than 5, 6, 10 million francs a day. When you cripple them, owing to their different transactions, when you put them down for a day.
No, they're paying for they're paying for the war.
Mr. Liu, it's not actually paying for the war. You're asking me of an alternative. It's not actually paying for the war, because I'm coming back to what you asked me. I listened to one of those who wrote, he talked about the panelists being imbalanced again, another one, that who called for the war under the military. There is something I said, and I'm coming back to it, that one, if someone somewhere is sitting and expecting that the president of the Republic will say, okay, all the military come back to Yaoundé, it's a fat lie. That's the first thing. And that secondly, we've seen, I don't know whether people are blind to certain realities. We've seen the progress of how things have moved from 2016 to 2017 to 2023. The reality is there. But now, when he who has a yam and a knife is the president, and you have an agenda that you want to force on him, and he's telling you, I will not move on this track, and you keep holding to the agenda, and the end of the day is what we have now, because you're asking of alternatives. When you are trapped, for instance, you traveled to Boya and you're supposed to come back on a Monday, it's true, cars go through, and assuming they were not, or fare increases, who pays the price? You pay. The fare that you were to pay has increased. Secondly, if you were to work that day, you may not go to work. No alternative is provided. You just listen to a guy who said he left Jakiri to come by, and he has been tied down and needs to pay 30,000 to go back. This is because this is a road, at first they just went down straight. But now he needs to come through Fumbot, through Magba. Before coming back, it means you go and get right to, say, Donga Manton, that is around you, and you start coming back. What has a young man gained? Those are the realities, because if, Mr. Liu, you shut down roads, you say, okay, this Monday, people are not passing, and you provide alternatives.
You provide food.
Of course.
You create a health center that when you are sick.
You provide those alternatives. Is understandable. Mr. Liu, I want to be categorical that any person who sits somewhere, maybe label me a name or any other person a name, is because when it comes to the crisis, some of us have stood very firm for it. But when I stay within your focus, the road blockage, because when I've looked at it from start till even 10 years to come, if you were to bring me here next week, I'll still say the same thing. There is absolutely no benefit. The big guns in Yaoundé do not lose. In fact, nothing, even a hair on their head doesn't leave. Create the ghost towns for 2 weeks.
Yeah, but this act is it making the revolution popular, or is losing support?
It's quite unfortunate. It's my opinion and what I've had to talk with people on the ground. It's quite unfortunate that it's losing a lot of popularity, because when you have to talk with a young man who ran away from a village and came to Douala and has nowhere to stay, and the child tells you it is because of this. It is true there are those who have painted a picture of they ran because their villages were burned down by men in uniform. Okay? And looking at the reality of what is ongoing, anybody can do that. But I think that A crisis, Mr. Leo. Nelson Mandela went to prison for 27 years. Came out and was hailed. I don't know if you understand him. Was hailed. The people hailed him. And I'm saying that the crisis is losing popularity because those who gave their all, when this crisis started in 2016, Mr. Leo, I want to be honest with you that I saw parents contribute maize, contribute things, contributed money. I saw it and gave and said, these are our children. These are our children. You are doing this. But now when you have a separatist fighter like what happened in March 16 where a young man is killed with more than 50 million on his body, you're asking yourself how this transforms to saving a revolution. You don't get the point. It's losing because you don't save a people by suffering the people.
I want us to stay within what we are discussing, road blockade. Now, the caller from the UK cites a series of massacres, which according to him justifies the road blockade. Let's assume, granted that, okay, the government is this wicked for doing this and this and this and this and causing pain on the people. Now, when you add road blockade, are you easing the pain caused on them or by government, or you are also joining government to add on the pain?
The question, yeah, that is right. Given to that, all this massacre, I have not had none of any that they came through air to commit this. And when you block these routes, it is not as if you want, it's a kind of a compensation that you want to give for the massacres. I doubt whether it's a kind of compensation that you want to compensate for the people whose lives have been lost, or what are they doing? Or they are preempting future massacres. Those are some of the, fundamental questions that we ask, because when somebody cites those kind of things and gives a reason and he wants to defend and a conclusion, makes a deduction that is the reason why there are roadblocks, then we begin to ask, how is that comparison suiting with what we call roadblocks? Because you cite the cases of people who have died, who have lost their lives. Yes, that is true. We regret the fact that so many people have lost their lives. More than thousands of people have lost their lives. And we keep on blaming this loss of life on our carelessness. On most part is because we are provoking, we act like this. And you do that after that your analysis, something that you have summarized and put in one notebook before calling. And then he comes out to say, that is the reason why we need to preserve further lives. Because they have lost all those massacres have gone, we are preserving further lives. And knowing that those military and those acts that were committed, they were not brought from the air, it was through the route that happened. We have had military who have gone into villages and they didn't even need to use the highway or to use the main route to go to the villages. They have their way of operating.
So how do they get to Babanki and the other communities? They are in Babisi, they are in Bamising, all those places.
All those places, they are getting there, but the routes are blocked. Are you now saying that because the routes are blocked, there's no military in